Okay. Okay, take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right. So we are going to continue working on the idea of the moment or the now, or as I think we could safely parallel the now to the holy instant, or that moment when we step out of the way. But before we continue to dig deeply into that, I thought we would talk a little bit about some of the quotes in the course that are spoken of what happens when we do this. Okay, what is the result? What does this bring me? And I made up this chart of when we come from the ego, we're going to be coming from the past, and we will bring the future from the past into the future. When we come from a place of now, we will then have a new experience, one that's not from the ego. And I think it's also real important to become aware that because we're aligned with the ego, we automatically do this. So this isn't about looking at this and going, oh, I'm a bad person because this is what I'm doing. It's about recognizing this is the result of the choice that we have put into play. And we have all been operating from that place since the beginning of time. So now we're going to be in the moment, get everything out of the way of what we're thinking, or at least observe what's sitting in that place of the moment and not judge it or attack it, which then leads to a new something. And we all have, or many people in the group have shared stories occasionally where they'll say, you know, I got out of the way and something happened that I know didn't come from me. It was new, it was different. It was, you know, it didn't come from me, which, you know, usually when we're coming from this place, I'm planning, I'm fixing, I'm changing, I'm deciding, I'm filling in the positive instead of the negative, or whatever it may be. I'm doing it, I'm in charge. I have not left that space of now open to allow the Holy Spirit to fill it with his answer. So I'm going to read a number of.
Well, can't you be doing something like knitting or something?
Absolutely, yes.
In the now, and you're actually doing something?
I think that sometimes does happen, Bob, but this is about bringing this more into focus so that we live this more and more frequently throughout our life and our experiences. Okay. Yeah, and then after that, we're going to try to keep it going here.
Isn't it too that like we this thing is to take you from the past to the future?
Absolutely. Yep.
You're like caught in this thing, and then you have to like just kind of go, you know, hold it.
Yes.
Because it just is like a knee-jerk reaction to go from, because you're experiencing something, you think it's happening again.
Yep.
And you panic like you did from before, and then then there's a whole, you know, you have to open to a whole different explanation, which is crazy making, like
yes.
because you could think, okay, I want to learn not think about the past, but it just the next experience that comes up similar, just like it slams right down to that.
Yes.
And then that becomes what you ask the Holy Spirit about.
Yes. And that is very automatic. And I want to emphasize that's very automatic. If it happens, if it shows up, don't be hard on yourself. When we chose for the ego, we got the package of the ego. That's what's in charge. That's what's going to bring this moment. But what am I going to do in this moment? Am I going to let that run the show, or am I going to open up that space to allow something new to come forth? Okay.
At the time where I thought I was in the now, There was no time.
Correct. Yes, because you're literally out of time.
Right.
You're
I
right.
was doing something, I was creating.
It doesn't mean you don't do anything. It means your mind is in that stilled space where you're not in charge.
Yeah, but I have to be, when I'm doing something.
You are doing something, yes, and I think we even, and I don't know where it is offhand, but I think last week or the week before that, we did read a section that it said, basically, your mind will be in the, centered, but your body will be going through its doings or something. There was some quote that your body will continue to do. It's all about your mind. Again, Jesus died on the cross from the perspective of the Course. He was going through what all of us would say was a really horrible time, but his mind was totally stilled in the mind of the Holy Spirit instead of the ego. All right. So if you want to read along, text 95, paragraph 9, line 2.
Text page 95?
No, 395, paragraph 9. Okay, so here the world outside is seen anew without the shadow, paragraph 9, line 2. Here the world outside is seen anew without a shadow of guilt upon it. Here are you forgiven, for here you have forgiven everyone. Here is the new perception where everything is bright and shiny with innocence, washed in the waters of forgiveness and cleansed of every evil thought you laid upon it. Here there is no attack upon the Son of God, and you are welcome. Here is your innocence, waiting to clothe you and protect you and make you ready for the final step in the journey inward. Here are the dark and heavy garments of guilt laid by and gently replaced by purity and love. All right, so let's just take an example of you're having an argument with somebody in your life and you're very much here, okay? You're living in the past, you're reacting from what they did based on whatever has happened in the past. And the Course is asking us to sit with that, observe it, not judge it, not attack it, not try to change it, simply be in that moment and let there be a space of peace in that moment instead of a reaction to whatever is taking place, which takes you to now, which then allows you to be taken to an experience that's beyond the time and space, as Bob just kindly shared about the idea. You're not in time and space and there isn't form. It's a whole new experience. So when it says here, the world outside is seen anew without the shadow of guilt upon it. When I'm coming from here, I'm bringing the guilt with me. When I'm sitting in the now, I go, I don't know. I don't bring the guilt with me. I release that completely from my mind. Here is the new perception where everything is bright and shining and innocent, washed in the waters of forgiveness and cleansed of every evil thought you laid upon it. Well, what do we always do? We project onto our brother the past that I hold within me, which is, I believe I am the home of evil, sin, and darkness. And I project it on to the future or to my brother. And as we spoke last week, it can be the fork that you dropped on the floor. It can be the chair that got knocked over, whatever, any form of there's a problem out there that isn't about me because I'm an innocent victim of the problem that is taking place. So it literally takes what we've been placing on the world and we don't allow that to continue moving forward. We stop. Wait a minute. I don't know. In my, and I think it's helpful, and I certainly have done this. There's nothing wrong with going through the churning of, I think it should be this way, and I think it should do this, and I think, and to start with that, but then stop and go, wait, I don't know. And then the new can fill that space. But as long as you're continuing to add to it, you're in charge, God's under the bus. Here, there is no attack upon the Son of God, because literally we projected our guilt, sin, and fear on our brother, and then we attack our brother for showing us what's basically in our mind. But before we were in the course, we probably weren't too aware that that's what we were up to. But the course is trying to put into place an understanding that what you see in your brother is actually coming from your mind, and you want your brother to do and say and act and be what they are, so that you can play the part of an innocent victim, which keeps us separate, different, and in a place basically of hell. When we can stop and say, wait a minute, I don't know, that's my experience, but you tell me there's another way. I want to find that other way. Then the possibility for the door to open to seeing your brother as the same instead of seeing your brother as different will open up. And it goes on to say, here, there is no attack upon the Son of God. Well, when I'm playing a part of an innocent victim, I'm always attacking my brother, including the character that's in the mirror in the morning that I attack 24 hours a day. And I do this to remain an innocent victim. But this requires that I be willing to see my brother differently. And when I open to that door, he says, here is your innocence, waiting to clothe you and protect you and make you ready for the final step in the journey inward. Here are the dark and heavy garments of guilt laid by and gently replaced by purity and love. So the deal with this, though, is just real quickly do this. So we know those are both possibilities. We're either in this one or we are, oops, sorry about that, in the flaws of the world. Trying to do it upside down backwards doesn't help either. Okay, so we're either coming from this or we're coming from this. No time do we ever have both of them. It's always one or the other. And how do I find out which one I'm in? Is to observe if I'm coming from a place of judgment, attack, separation, differences. And if I am, I can stop and say, wait, you keep telling me oneness is what it's all about. I don't quite believe that yet, but you show me that this is true. And then the effect of that will be this new experience. All right, we're going to go to 590, paragraph 7. This one, Jesus is really putting us on the butcher block. So it's 590, paragraph 7. All right. Remember nothing that you taught yourself, for you were badly taught. And who would keep a senseless lesson in his mind when he can learn and can preserve a better one? When ancient memories of hate appear, remember that their cause is gone. And so you cannot understand what they are for. Let not the cause that you would give them now be what it was that made them what they were or seemed to be. Be glad that it is gone, for this is what you would be pardoned from. And see instead the new effects of cause accepted now with consequences here. They will surprise you with their loveliness. The ancient new ideas that bring will be the happy consequences of a cause, capital C, so ancient that it far exceeds the span of memory which your perception sees. All right, so this first line, remember nothing that you have taught yourself, for you were badly taught. Now you might say, but I didn't teach myself all this stuff. My parents taught me this, my religion taught me, my society taught me. And Jesus would say, yep, that's what it seems like. But the answer is actually we taught ourselves everything.
It's still a projection.
It's still a projection coming from your mind. Yep. Yep. So he's saying basically, are you willing to take all your beliefs, all that you've been taught, and push them aside for a little while? Let's give this a try. Let's give this.
You were crazy in mind.
Oh, absolutely. He does tell us we're insane a lot, but besides that, but right, exactly.
You're too stupid.
All right, right. And who could keep a senseless lesson in his mind when he can learn and can preserve a better one? So basically what he's saying is, if you can continue this, or you can choose for a better one, why don't we choose for a better one more frequently? And I think what we really need to eventually come to is the projections that we see in the world are not serving us any longer. And when we really get, this does not serve me, this is not helpful, this is not bringing me joy and peace and connectedness. And then am I willing to do something about it? When ancient memories of hate appear, and basically what are ancient hates that appear? Literally everything we see on the screen that's been projected out from my unhealed mind. That's everything is an ancient hate appeared. And as we know, that one line in the course where it says, doesn't matter if it's a slight irritation or a major issue in our life, it's all the same. I'm not at peace. And if it's I broke my fingernail or somebody blew up my house, all the same. Very hard to grasp initially when you're studying the course, but it's trying to help us understand you are either in peace or you're not. And if you're not in peace, you're coming from a belief system that doesn't believe in peace. And not only that, but if you react and move from that place, the same thing that's going on now will take place in the future because it's coming from what you put in the place of now.
Marianne?
Yeah.
If you go to the page before 589, paragraph 2, 7, memory like perception is a skill made up by you to take the place of what God gave you.
Yep.
In the creation. So all of our memory is based on our perception. Which is a
Absolutely.
projection coming from our mind. And so,
Absolutely.
you know, and this is the undoing of fear, the present memory, and what this is saying is, there's only two kinds of memory. One that we made based on perception of the past. Right. And the other memory, which is now, which is the memory of God. And that's the only true memory
That's it.
that there is.
That's it.
Now is the memory of God.
Yep.
And that's in paragraph 4.
Yep. All right, we're going to try to keep the comments and questions down into the second half of the class if possible. All right, so remember, where were we here? When ancient memories of hate appear, remember that their cause is gone. And how is their cause gone? If I replace the image, or not me, if I open the door or push aside the belief that I am holding and allow the Holy Spirit to fill that space. And again, in the part of the process of doing that will be to just observe and become aware of what you're seeing and not judge it or attack it, because it is the judgment and the attack of what I do if I'm not coming from a place where I think I'm being loving and I'm trying to do this course. Simply observing, well, of course, when someone chooses for the ego, they're going to get an effect of those attributes, because that's the part of the mind that is running the show. All right. And so you cannot understand what they are for. We don't understand, as Lisa read there, we don't understand that we're the ones that placed all this on the screen. But if it's not love, it's what we place there. And if it's not love, we have closed the door to our connection with God. Let not the cause that you would give them now be what it was that made them what they were or seemed to be. So he's saying, as you begin to change the cause, what you set up will collapse. When you drop this thought, then it's no longer. Then the other can replace it. But if you insist on the thought that you're holding in your mind as what reality is, and certainly this is a struggle because we look out at the world, we've been programmed from our choice of separation that this be a world of kill or be killed, and somebody, attacks me. Of course, I've got my boxing gloves on and I'm ready to attack them back. But this is saying, but wait, hold it. Do you really want to continue that? Do you want to perpetuate the thing you hate about your brother? Or do you want to take a deep breath and go, wait, let's see what can happen here. All right, so be glad that it is gone, for this is what you would be pardoned from. And again, what I'm really being pardoned from is what I see in my brother that I don't like in myself, that I projected in my brother. So I can be legitimately attack my brother because he's the problem instead of me. But as we know, the Course is constantly reminding us, it is not your brother that's the problem. It is your mind that that is projected onto your brother, and now you believe is the problem. And again, the example of Jesus dying on the cross, all those horrible things were happening to him, but he saw through his eyes, because he was aligned with love, only that they were calling for love and nothing more or nothing less. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're in attack mode, you go, they're just calling for love, because you don't believe that right now. You believe they're attacking you and you're justified to attack them back. But begin by observing how much you want to attack them. And if you're truly coming from love, there would be absolutely nothing about attack in your presence, in your beingness. It just wouldn't exist. And if it does, just recognize, oop, that's where I'm coming from. Something can be done, even if I'm not ready right now, right? I'm going to at least hold this as a possibility. And see instead the new effects cause accepted now. So again, we're talking about the now, and cause, what we put into place, is now being replaced with a new cause, with consequences here. They will surprise you with their loveliness. Now, what a beautiful invitation. I mean, what more do we want? The ancient new ideas they bring will be the happy consequences. And why I'm saying the ancient new ideas is because truly this was the idea, and it appears ancient and new to us because we've covered over what truth was, and we've lived so long in the lie that it appears like this new wonderful experience coming through. But from this chart, everything that God had, he gave to us. This was not new. He gave this to us freely. We're the ones that kicked him off the throne and replaced it by our own story of duality, kill or be killed, and then have the results of guilt, sin, and fear, and projection, and death. God did not give this to us, we did. But what God did give us remains waiting for us when we take down all the barriers that we keep in front of us. All right, so the ancient new ideas they bring will be happy consequences of a cause, and the C is capitalized, which means you're coming from this side of the chart instead of this one. The ancient cause, so ancient that it far exceeds the span of memory which your perception sees. So it goes far back before all the gunk that we placed in front of it, but it still remains every moment available to us anytime we wish. All right, workbook number 75, paragraph 3.
75, paragraph 3.
Workbook 75, yes, paragraph 3. And notice how each one of these sections, he's using the word new. This is a new possibility, a new awareness, something you can't figure out, but is available to you if you take the steps that he's asking us to take. Our exercises for today will be happy ones in which you offer thanks for the passing of the old and the beginning of the new. No shadows from the past remain to darken our sight and hide the world forgiveness offers. And remember, the word forgiveness literally means from the Course that none of this is real. Doesn't mean the idiot did something and now I'm going to forgive them. It means the idiot's not even there, neither am I. We will be given what we desire. We will see the light, and the light has come. So again, you might think of living in the moment as choosing for the light instead of the darkness as well. All right, workbook page 330, paragraph 10.
Number.
No, actually, this is in the workbook, but it's on page 330.
That would be, oh, that's not even right.
I know. It's a little confusing when we throw those little guys in there. This is like a review of some of the workbook lessons, yeah. Okay, and this is going to be paragraph 10. Let this review become a time in which we share a new experience for you, yet one as old as time and older still. Hallowed your name, your glory undefiled forever, and your wholeness now complete as God established it. You are his son, completing his extension in your own. We practice but an ancient truth we knew before illusion seemed to claim the world, and we remind the world that it is free of all illusions every time we say, God is but love, and therefore so am I. So again, this idea of let this review become a time in which we share a new experience for you. Not the same old, because again, when you're coming from the old way, the past, you're going to make the future exactly as the past was. And the ego part of us absolutely loves that. Don't leave that, that gap open. Fill it real quickly with what the past is, and then we got everything covered, and we will continue to perpetuate the illusion. Hallowed your name. So Jesus is trying to explain to us, as he is, we are. And we are not the home of evil, sin, and darkness. We're not somebody that, somebody looks at us and we cringe, or we get upset, or something happens in our world and we fall apart. That is not who we really are. Your glory undefiled forever. So again, the word defiled, it's undefiled. Nothing is wrong with who you really are. And your wholeness now complete as God established it. And so we go back to the wholeness, the oneness that we always were. You are his son, completing his extension in your own. So when we align with God's will, we automatically extend the love that he is. Just like when we align with the ego, we project the guilt and fear out into the world and then blame the world for the pain that I suffer. We practice but an ancient truth we knew before illusion seemed to claim the world. So again, before the illusion seemed to claim the world, we were in that place of ancient love. And we remind the world that it is free of all illusions. And I'm going to stop there. And when we live from that place, we're reminding the world every moment that that's a possibility. Now, other people may or may not be ready to embrace that, just like Jesus was crucified because they weren't real thrilled about his new storyline. That's okay. We're living the truth as the truth is. So, and we remember the world that it is free of all illusions every time we say, God is but love, and therefore so am I. And the trick of this particular lesson is I can walk around and say those words, but what the Course is really asking us to do at this time on our journey is to become aware of how often I feel I am not loved and therefore I'm a piece of shit. And to really hone in on those moments, because I can say I am I am love and therefore so I am. But if I have any awareness or not awareness, that's not any hooks in my consciousness that say I am coming from this will always override anything that my mouth says. So we really need to get to the core. We need to get to the cause, and the cause is that I believe I've aligned with the connection with the separation instead of that love. So, but the result of that will be God is love, and therefore so am I. And again, I don't make this happen. I pause in that moment of now to allow a new possibility to come forth. All right, workbook lesson 269. Yeah.
Just have to say, my align to the separation. That's where I have to.
No, you have to begin there, because that is what you believe about yourself. So in other words, I can say, I am God all day long. And somebody walks in the room and pokes their, points their finger at me, and I feel like a piece of shit. That is a result of this belief system. And I need to start with what I believe, which is, oh, look, somebody can disturb my peace and represent that I'm not loved. We have to start with that, because that's a projection of what we have chosen. And in order to get beyond that, I have to start in those three steps. I have to recognize I put that there. I have to recognize that's not what I want anymore. And then the third step is get out of the way and let God take that place. But to recognize I do believe I am the home of evil, sin, and darkness. And I don't think I want to do that anymore. I don't want to play there anymore. Holy Spirit, you show me how to go beyond this.
And I probably don't even know what love is.
None of us do, Bob, in the true sense of what love is, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Where
All
are
right.
we at now, Mary Ann?
Workbook lesson 269. And I believe it's paragraph number 1. And this section is called My Sight Goes Forth to Look Upon Christ's Face.
269.
Yeah, workbook lesson 269.
Can't be paragraph 1.
No? Why can't it be paragraph 1? It is.
What page?
Workbook lesson 269. All right. I ask your blessing on my sight today. It is the means which you have chosen to become the way to show me my mistakes and look beyond them. It is given me to find a new perception through the guide you gave me, and through his lessons to surpass perception and return to truth. I ask for the illusion which transcends all these I made. Today, I choose to see a world forgiven in which everyone shows me the face of Christ and teaches me that what I look upon belongs to me, that nothing is except your holy Son. Okay, so I ask your blessing on my sight today. So what's my sight today? My sight is my brother is an idiot. Or worse, as we all know, whoever, yeah, and again, it can be my face in the mirror. I don't like what I look like or whatever, okay? But then you're saying, I want to see it through your lens, not the lens that is I've been programmed to see because I wanted to perpetuate this storyline. I'm saying, wait, much like Helen and Bill, there's got to be another way. I don't know, which means I have to then wash my hands and then sit on them. I can't be in charge then. I have to get out of the way, even though sometimes you feel like a dog tied to a fire hydrant and a cat's walking by and you really want to get after them because they are wrong and I am right. I know how this is played out, guys. I'm not just up here talking. I live this too. It sucks. And, there are so many of those delightful people in our lives that just know exactly where our buttons are, and they know exactly how to push them, and they're really good at pushing them. And this is always about not them, not that they're pushing the buttons. It's about me. What am I doing with the fact that can still have my buttons pushed? Because again, Jesus was going through that process. Nobody can push his buttons because he was totally aligned with what truth is. If my buttons can be pushed, I'm not aligned with what my truth is yet. This is good information. It sucks, but it's good information because I now know I have more work to do. Don't beat yourself over the head when you recognize, look, I just spewed all over the room again. Simply recognize I must be afraid of the love of God. Get back on the horse and attempt to do it again. But when we really understand this, the doing is really not a lot. It's simply, wait, my thoughts are going in the trash can. I'm going to leave that space open and allow him to fill in that space. And as many places in the course, it says, you don't think, you don't talk, you don't hear, you don't see. And yet we're evaluating literally everything that we judge and attack through all those senses. None of them are real. None of them are the truth. His answer is the truth. But that means I've got to put it all on the table and walk away. All right. It is the means which you have chosen to become the way to show me my mistakes and look upon them. So again, we projected what we had in our mind out into the world. We then look at it out in the world and we say the world is the problem. This course, unlike probably anything else that I know out there, is trying to help us. That's not the problem. This is the problem. And there's even those workbook lessons that say the one problem is you believe you've separated, and the answer is you didn't separate. There is no other anything else. We add things, and that's okay. We're going to do that for as long as we need to. But ultimately, it literally is, I want this, and as a result of wanting this, I don't want God, and I'm going to blame it on my brother. Nice little package, all wrapped up. I'm an innocent victim. They're the perpetrator. All is well in the world. But I will never, ever, 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 ever experience peace in that place. And when peace becomes the higher choice, then I will, when those moments come of wanting to go, and you can stop because there's a part of your mind that says, wait, no, I really want peace more than I want this insanity. Okay, Holy Spirit, I'm ready. Help me. And sometimes we have to get pretty low before those moments occur, but they will occur. All right. So again, he says, this is the way he's going to show us how what my mistakes are. It is given me to find a new perception through the guide you gave me. And who's the guide? The Holy Spirit. And what is the Holy Spirit? It's basically the memory in your mind of who you really are, without the defilement of the belief of the ego. And through his lessons to surpass perception and return to truth. So this takes care of all the perception that I projected out, because when I'm coming from the past, I'm always bringing the perception to the future. Now, when I choose to allow him to run the show, it just fell apart. We're going to start anew. I'm opening that space. I don't know. You show me. Then he can fill that space with the new, and it's not going to be coming from the past any longer. All right. So I ask for the illusion which transcends all those I made. And keep remembering, Jesus says over and over, you made what you see. You want what you see to be there. Well, I know most of us walking in the course said, oh no, that can't possibly be what this course is talking about. I'm very well aware. But as we keep chugging away here, it starts to make sense. Oh, I put that there because I don't want I don't want the love of God right now. And I'm willing to have all this insanity continue to happen instead of go back to oneness until the moment happens where it's like, okay, I've had it. What do you want from me? Today, I choose to see a world forgiven. And again, the world forgiven is a world that is not real. Because if something is not real, how could it possibly take my peace away? Now, that sounds real nice and easy, but I know it takes a while before we integrate that whole concept into our being and live from a place of knowing that none of this is real. So today I choose to see a world forgiven in which everyone shows me the face of Christ and teaches me that what I look upon belongs to me, that nothing is except your holy Son. So if you look at anyone in the world that you do not see the face of Christ in, know that you're coming from the ego. And that's not good or bad, right or wrong. It simply is, it's going to continue to perpetuate from a thought system that if you really want to see the face of Christ in everyone, including yourself, you need to be willing to do the work that is required, which is to stop, become aware, this is what I want, or this is what I ordered. And you know what? I don't think I want to play there anymore. I'm willing to see it and to choose something different. And then as it says, and that nothing is except your holy Son. You accept your holy Son. And then you will see yourself from that place. You will see everything you look at from that place. Quite a different expression or experience than what most of us live on a daily basis. All right, Teacher's Manual, page 51, paragraph 2.
At the face of Christ, who is that?
That would be when you would look like that day you saw that building, that it just lit up and it was beautiful and it was an old decrepit building. That old building that you saw that time that you drove by and it just lit up and
Face of Christ?
yeah,
That was a building.
it doesn't matter.
You're taking the words literally.
Yeah, there's no face.
No, it's not a physical thing. Yeah. You're right, correct. Yeah, because you know that that building wasn't what you experienced. Yeah. All right, paragraph number 2, Teacher's Manual 51. First, how can the peace of God be recognized? God's peace is recognized at first by just one thing. In every way, it is totally unlike all previous experiences. It calls to mind nothing that went before. It brings with it no past associations. It is a new thing entirely. There is a contrast, yes, between this thing and all the past. But strangely, it is not a contrast of true differences. The past just slips away, and in its place is everlasting quiet. Only that. The contrast first perceived has merely gone. Quiet has reached to cover everything. I know, aren't these something? Yeah. First, how can the peace of God be recognized? Well, I need to know what I'm looking for here. God's peace is recognized at first. And notice that he's saying it's not going to like just jump at you all one time. It's going to be let's get started there. First, just by one thing, and in every way, it is totally unlike all previous experiences. And again, when we're coming from the past, everything is familiar. Every outcome is familiar. Everything that shows up is in a familiar experience. When we're coming from a new, a fresh, it is completely something unexpected. I could not have done this by myself. I don't know. And that's why when you throw up your hands with the question or the comment, I don't know.
You can't take it from the attitude of this.
No.
Because it's not coming from
No.
this.
No,
It's the decision maker who's
absolutely.
got all this information.
It's the mind that's
And all
churning and
that you can
nothing
do
else.
is take what you don't want, put it on the altar and let the Holy Spirit remove it.
Correct.
That's all we're asked to do.
Yep.
Get out of the way.
Yep, it calls to mind nothing that went before. So, you might go through the litany of making a list of all that I should do. This is what I should do. And, this didn't work. I'll try that. But what he's saying is you're still doing it when you're doing any of those things. This is not about you doing it.
Let it go.
Yep. It brings with it no past associations, which again is challenging because we've lived our whole life based on what the past is. We've been brought up to be good little people in the world and, work on the projects and use your mentality and all that kind of stuff and your practical application. But this is saying this world is literally a different world than this world. And if you're trying to be over here, you have to relinquish this because you can't take this over here.
But
And
see,
get
the
this
form
answer.
is deceiving,
Well, the form is very deceiving.
because really what he's talking about are all the upsets within us.
Correct. Yep.
Really, that's what we need to let
Always.
go.
Yep.
Reacting to something you don't really have a clue, because if you use this body, that's the first time I've come
Yep.
on this.
Yep. Yep.
But not the first time I got angry.
No. But if you become aware that anger is not what I want, how I want to live my life any longer. Yeah. And literally making my brother guilty so I can play the part of an innocent victim. If that just doesn't appeal to you any longer, then that's when you really start to make the changes and shifts. All right, it is new. It is a new thing entirely. There is no contract, or there is contract, yes, but between this thing and all the past. But strangely, it is not a contrast of true differences. And I read all that before. The past just slips away, and in its place is everlasting quiet. And, again, we have to be very gentle because we're very addicted to the past. And we're unfortunately not all that comfortable with the place of total quiet and peace. So that's sort of a teeter-totter experience there. But there will come a time when you can't tolerate the energy, or whatever you want to call it, of the upset and the anger and the judgment and the attack. And the desire for the replacement comes bubbling up to the surface, where you really want that more than anything else. Only that the contrast first perceived has merely gone. And again, we're replacing the old with the new. And, I just had the thought of that quote in the Bible of you can't put old wine, or new wine in old, I don't know if it wasn't in wineskins. Thank you. I knew it wasn't bottles, but it didn't come to me. And the reason being is we can't take the past and fill it with the new, because we have to empty it out completely. Or the idea of the Zen guy was pouring the water or the tea, and the water in the teacup, and the teacup is already full. It's just going to fall over. You have to empty it completely. And emptying is to come to the moment fresh, completely new. And then the answer can come. The contrast first perceived is merely gone. Quiet has reached to cover everything. And again, what do I want quiet more than I want anything else? And the answer is usually hell no. I'm having fun now. And, we're very addicted to the roller coaster ride. So be very gentle on yourself. But eventually it will come to a moment where not now. Maybe the next one that pops up, I will. But right now, I'm going for what you've got to say instead of what I've got to say. All right. So paragraph 3. How is this quiet found? No one can fail to find it who but seeks out its conditions. God's peace can never come where anger is, for anger must deny the peace exists. Who sees anger is justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless and must believe that it cannot exist. In this condition, peace cannot be found. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. More than this, given forgiveness, there must be peace. For what except attack will lead to war, and what but peace is opposite to war? Here, the initial contrast stands out clear and apparent. Yet when peace is found, the war is meaningless, and it is conflict now that is perceived as non-existent and unreal. So how is this quiet found? No one can fail to find it who but seeks out its conditions. And what are its conditions? I want the peace more than I want the chaos. Well, is that true in this moment for you? And that's what you have to look at. God's peace can never come where anger is. Well, here's a really special one, eh? You cannot have peace if you're holding anger. Now, that doesn't mean you don't start with the anger, because that's the experience you're having. You start with the anger, and as I said before, you can churn through the anger for a while. Barb used to say she'd get in the car and just scream for a while, and then when it calms down, wait a minute, do I really want to stay in this place? And we have to become aware that, yes, the experiences and the situations in the world appear to have set up that situation that you say you don't want. But what the Course is saying is, yes, you really do want. And the answer is, I don't have to wait for something to change on the outside. What I need to do is change the inside and choose for peace, if and when I'm ready to do that. But if I think something out there has to change before I can experience peace, I will have a very long wait. All right.
You're in control.
Well, yeah,
Out there.
yeah. Who sees anger is justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless. Ooh, how's that one? Underline it in your book. I'm going to read that again. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless. Because again, peace, conflict, their anger, anything. They can't be in the same box, one or the other. I'll read that again. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless and must believe that it cannot exist. Now, I think that's a kind of a tricky statement, because Ken would sometimes say, doesn't mean you don't get angry. It means don't justify it. Don't say, I'm justified to be angry because so-and-so and so did this. But I am angry, which means I'm living in the past and I'm dragging the past with me, and I haven't yet come to the place where I can put that down completely yet. But don't justify it. In this condition, peace cannot be found. Cannot be found where anger is my desire.
If you look at it with the fact is, I'm doing this to myself.
Mhm.
That's all that's going on.
Well, when we can come to that awareness, yep.
Come to that acceptance,
Mhm.
you stand a partial chance.
Yep. And most people, when they walk in the door of the Course in Miracles meeting, do not know that. That's not anywhere close to an awareness. And that's why we keep working towards understanding this on a
Makes
deeper
my
and deeper.
world.
Yep.
Sprinkle some fairy dust.
Yep. More than this, given forgiveness, there must be peace. When we want forgiveness more than the chaos, then the peace will come. For what except attack will lead to war? And we have to understand, we watch the news and we say, that's terrible, that's awful, I can't believe those people are doing that. But what percentage of my thoughts are going to the war within me? When I see anything outside that is disrupting my peace, I'm literally living in the mindset of war. And what the peace is opposite to war. So I have to decide that I want peace more than anything else. Here, the initial contrast stands out clear and apparent. War, peace, war, peace. Yet when peace is found, the war is meaningless because there's no purpose for it any longer. And it is conflict now that is perceived as non-existent and unreal.
It's like giving it time war, with no purpose.
Absolutely, Harvey. And literally, it's the same effect, because when you stop playing, you let go of the rope and the other guy's got to figure out what to do now, but you're done. And sometimes it's really hard to stop but they're so addicted that it takes some undoing before the day comes when I can really just let go of the rope and stop.
As you're letting go the whole self that you put in place.
Yes,
Of-
well, yes, and that's a big deal,
You're
right?
letting- You're not just, there isn't just one little thought.
Yeah.
You're letting go of the whole idea that
Right.
you know, what do you mean I have to do that?
Well, and I would
The ego thought system.
I would,
The whole system,
right, I would reword it slightly different in that we think we're giving up this, we're really just giving up the thought. But because we're so attached to this being me, and it represents the little ego thoughts that I maintain in my mind, it does feel like I'm giving up this
It's
thing.
the whole way you always think.
Yes, yeah,
So to give up that one part gives up the whole way you always think in order to get something else.
Yeah.
It's a belief system.
it is a belief system, which again, we have to just keep even reminding ourselves that doesn't flow. That's not the natural way of us seeing the world. I don't think everything I see, even though I hear this every week that I speak it on Saturdays, that this is a projection of what's in my mind. That's not the natural response to a moment in time yet. Very automatic. So be gentle, in other words, in that process. Yeah.
You'll just have a lot of trust and faith in the process.
Yep. No, that's required as well. And I think every time we ask for help, we're literally, putting more coins in this bank account and less in this. And as we read in that one paragraph, I don't know exactly where it was, that this just falls away. It's such a beautiful experience when you can look at yourself today and know if that situation that was in front of me 5 minutes ago had happened 5 years ago, I would not have responded at all in the same way. And it starts to show you the individual that's coming forth is just not the same person it was before. And it's very gradual, but it is taking you to that place that is, it's not me anymore. And we don't want it to be me anymore, because me was always in trouble, but in trouble in a different way than I even thought I was.
And you think of other people that want, keep asking, why are people at war? Like what's it about? I mean, I think I just got so tired finally of having that discussion about what are those people doing to each other? Why are they doing that?
Mhm.
When 10 years later, there's a whole nother thing. And then every day on the news, they explain how awful it is. And
Yep.
why would anybody do that to themselves?
Yep.
Was, I guess, the first question that, changed my way of thinking about
Ask
life.
yourself what you would defend.
Yep.
Ask yourself that at some given point, what am I willing to defend? And that's what war is all about.
Yep.
That's all.
And be very aware that any one of us that is defending our position, believe unequivocally that our position is absolutely the correct one.
That's right.
And we are very justified to attack our brother and, do what we can to convince them that we're right and they're wrong. That will never bring peace or love.
That's really what war is.
And that's what war is. That's what, yeah. Yeah. All right, it is break time.
I think, just our history.
Now I'm trying to ring her phone.
She probably isn't shut off. Mary,
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Did anybody read lips? But she had to say that all over again.
Marianne. No, she can't. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can I? She's
She's not, she sees it.
yeah. See, she's
Why
muted.
can't she? Yeah, but I don't want she's not turning it off. I mean, turn it on.
All right, we are on.
All right.
You can start over now.
I will. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so we are going to be in Teacher's Manual, page 51, paragraph number 5. Sorry about that, guys. And I already read the paragraph, but we're going to go line by line so you won't miss anything. All right, so living is joy, but death can only weep. And what that really means is nothing in this world are we really living. You only live in what the truth of who you are is. And he says, but death can only weep. Death is the opposite of life, and death does not exist. But as we believe it does, it will cause us to weep. You see in death escape from what you made. We think when we die that this is all going to go away and everything's going to be wonderful. And there's actually a line in the Course where Jesus specifically states, don't think that death is the answer. It is not the answer. When your physical body falls away, it'll simply be like taking your coat off, but who you are in consciousness will remain. Now, if you're in a healed consciousness, then you will know no big deal. And if you are still aligned in the consciousness of the ego, you're going to not be a happy camper, just like you're not here. But this you do not see, that you made death, and it is but illusion of an end. Well, there really is no end in eternity. How could the whole definition of heaven is eternity, is forever, unchangeable, all those definitions, they have nothing to do with what we experience as what we would call life here. Did you have something to share?
Yeah, one of the things that was helpful for me is seeing that life has no opposite.
Correct.
The
True life,
opposite-
yeah.
Yeah, life, the opposite of death is birth here.
Right. That is correct. But if we take it from the understanding of what God in heaven is, nothing within the illusion, what we would call life and death, is anything.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't even know what life.
No.
People throw that word. around.
Right,
Oh,
exactly.
My life. And another thing, they would say that. That this is existence, and existence means me looking at the word, the root of the word existence, is to stand out.
Oh, really interesting. Okay, good point. All
So
right,
you're standing out, you're.
trying to be an individual.
You're separated.
Right. All right. But this you do not see, that you made death, and it is but illusion of an end. Okay, so why would we make death? Well, the answer to that question is because when we left oneness, we literally thought we killed God off so that we could exist in duality. So death is literally one of the foundational stones of the belief system of the ego. And so it is, real up there high in the awareness of what it is. And so we, make those steps, and that's a very strong foundation. And think about, if we didn't die, we wouldn't live. So it's also a trap of the illusion of the ego to make us appear to have value as well. And we're afraid of death. So death is a very big aspect of our concerns on this planet. Well, we're not even alive, so how can we really die? But that's not where we're coming from now. We're still very much involved in the belief of birth and death. And at the same time, I would say, if you do get pulled into the fear of death, which, all of us are still probably playing in that arena. It's pretty strong in this belief system. is another opportunity to say, okay, I'm believing in death here, Holy Spirit. You're telling me there is no such thing. I don't know what that means, but I want to find out what that means. Show me. And keep bringing it back to what he has to share instead of what I insist on is my reality. And even with the concept of, death is so strongly played out in this world in so many ways we're not even consciously aware. It's getting close to the death of the day. Another day opens. It's a new day. If I'm in a book and I turn the page, I literally kill that last page in order to open to the new page. It's literally everywhere in our conglomeration of our belief system in this world. And why wouldn't it be? That's what the foundational stone of the world is based on death. And even observe all the ways of which you become focused on concept of death. And keep remembering in the back of your mind, Jesus says there is no death, there's only eternity. How can I align with that understanding?
Yeah, but this is a dream.
This is a dream, that is absolutely correct, but we believe that it's real.
That's
And
right.
so we believe that
If I'm
everything,
making death up in my mind.
Yep.
What did I expect other than that?
exactly, but we didn't know we were doing that to ourselves, but we,
still
yeah,
don't know.
well, true, but we're becoming at least consciously
Right.
aware of it, yeah.
I know it now.
Uh-huh. Death, yeah, no. And let's face it, death is probably, in fact, I think Jesus even says somewhere that death will be one of the most challenges to overcome. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the obstacles. Yeah. Yes. Well, and yes, we're also attracted to, and why are we attracted to it? Because it's a big part of the belief system that we
It
have.
serves our purpose.
It serves our purpose.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it. It serves our purpose. Yes. Yep.
What we fear, we are attracted to.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Big time.
We make it more real.
See, if you understand attraction, Marianne, if I didn't have a belief of fear and death within me, when it came to me or around me, I wouldn't be affected by it. If I am affected by it, I am attracted to it. And that's true with guilt, fear, sin, the whole
Anything that-
deal. Yeah.
Anything that triggers us.
Yeah. There's always,
That's gonna work.
right, there's always an attraction point before I can be affected by something outside of me like that. Yeah. So again, it's not about death or fear. It's about the attraction point that needs to be healed. And when I align with truth completely, there is no death or fear or belief in any of that exists in me any longer. So when it walks by, it could still walk by, but it won't come in on me and take my peace away. Which would be, in my opinion, a kind of nice place to be. Yeah. And at the same time, we really need to respect exactly where we are on this journey. And certainly there are going to be times when you are afraid of death, you are afraid of guilt or fear and whatnot. Or afraid of the news, whatever it may be. Yes, yes. So honor and respect where you are on the journey, but when you catch it, stop even for a moment and say, okay, Holy Spirit, you only accept eternity. I'm caught in this situation or experience. I want to align with you. I don't know how to do that. And literally very challenging and difficult times in your life can be some of the best catalysts because you are in pain or you are so deeply drawn into whatever the experience is going on is. And that can be an opportunity because it's so fresh in your mind to keep coming back to, wait a minute, you keep telling me there's another way to be with this. And I don't know what that means. I want to find out.
Well, accepting the fact that sin, guilt, and fear says we deserve punishment.
Absolutely.
And that's in our mind, and we keep building on that. And death is the final step.
Yes. Yes.
Why wouldn't we believe that? Because we believe the sin, guilt, and fear.
Yes. And we believe that unequivocally, one day this character called Marianne is going to be dead. if not people in my life that'll probably go before me, which I'm not gonna be happy about either. But, how can we live in this world believing that this is who I am and this is all I am, and not be afraid of something that I can't understand, I can't, grasp? It
It
couldn't.
says right in the book. The only thing I'm afraid of is the fact that I don't know who I think I am.
Correct. I don't know what I
Or
am.
where I am, or what I'm doing.
Yep.
Because all the rest of it, anger, despair.
Yep.
That identifies who I think I am.
Yep.
The concepts that I made up about Harvey, I ain't got a clue.
And isn't it, if we look at it from that perspective, Harvey and everybody else, it's almost like we are, as we read, where was that line? Where is it? God is love, and therefore so I am. That's, I could stand in the middle of the room and take little stickums and put them all on me and say, I'm a piece of shit. I believe in death. I live, and just literally.
That's what we believe.
Well, that's exactly what we've done. We just cover ourselves with all of these images and beliefs, and we walk around as though those were who we are. And literally every time we take one of those and examine it and say, okay, Holy Spirit, dang, I feel like I am a piece of shit, but you keep telling me I'm love. How do I do that?
Right.
And that's literally what we're asked to do every time, is look at each one of the things that we cover ourselves with
The truth
and
is,
question.
we step back and we get quiet
Yes,
and we give it to him.
Yeah.
And then get the hell out of the way.
that's it.
I gotta trust that what he said is true.
Absolutely.
But mostly we.
I got nothing else to go on. I know that what you said, all these stickers make up who I think I am.
Exactly. Yeah. And if we, took any one of them off and looked at it, we would say, I don't want this.
Of course not.
But the facts are, as long as I'm afraid of the love of God, I very much want them, because they're what keep me very stuck in this world with a good excuse to be upset or complain or find fault in, or whatever you might add to that storyline.
That's the dream I wrote.
That's the dream we wrote.
Like we walk around like this all over us and dare God or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
We dare God to come and remove it.
Yep.
As if he, you did this to me, what do I expect to do?
Yes.
Yeah, but God didn't do anything.
Well, I know, but that's the way,
We
talk
play the
about
game.
walking around with these things all over you daring a higher power. You're not engaged with it. I read 3 words this week that really helped me understand a lot of things, was about awareness, and that the awareness, when you become aware of the call for love, then you're in a place of healing. Because if you're aware, which is the whole idea.
Absolutely.
then you're not thinking you're a piece of shit walking around. All of a sudden, you're aware of the call for love.
Yeah.
And that removes everything then.
Yep.
And that's it, if you can see that, your big toe or your whatever's going on with you, brother-in-law or whoever, that their awareness of the call for love and anything that's there. I was really kind of stunned by that idea, because it was, all it is in my mind. That's
Yep.
what takes place. Just like, bingo, I'm aware of it. Like, oh, look at that. Look, why is, even like with children, when there's something wrong, they're crying, and all of a sudden you figure, look at their shoes on wrong or something. You get that awareness makes it all possible. So I was really stunned by that concept, and I was able to, I kept looking for it. I kept, what is it? This is really stunned me that I'm aware, the awareness of the call for love, and I kept just using it I can't say it was an affirmation, but it was just a concept that I kept going over and over and over in my head. Look at that. That's all it is. It's an awareness of the call for love. And it was teamed up with something about how you have the awareness of the call for love, Nobody else needs to know that. The person involved doesn't have to know that.
No,
And I was really healed by the concept this week in such a big way. And it just was like the awareness of the call for love that was my flag I was waving all week. It's like, okay, Andrea, this is, look at, there it is, the awareness of the call for love means I'm not looking at anybody being, a pain in the neck. I'm looking at that.
Well, how do you see that unless you're in this space?
Right.
you
that's
don't, and, right,
Outside, you're spending judgment.
yep,
Whatever's taking place.
Right.
Because that's the key.
Yep.
The judgment.
and, I think that's kind of like I mentioned earlier, the stepping stones of getting to the top. It's like we have to start with, there's something wrong here. Before we didn't know there was anything wrong. We just lived life. It was your fault. I'm okay. And why don't you just leave me alone so I can be all right? And then you get the next step which says, well, this is really what you projected out, which we don't like to hear. So we kind of push that one aside, but we keep going up and up. And then we realize this is really a class in awareness. And that's why it's so often we talk about the idea of looking, becoming aware. What is the dynamics of the ego? Why did the ego get set up that way? And do I want to continue to play in the arena of the ego? And even when we realize I don't want to play in the arena of the ego, I'm so very addicted to responding in the same old way that it's, even if I think I want it so desperately, I still fall back in that way. And then you keep going up and up, and eventually all the layers start to fall away. And eventually, as that one prayer says, the ultimate prayer is, show me who I am. And that's all you want. Well, you can't want that until you want that. So you keep doing all these little steps, and eventually you get to that place where I literally only want peace. And then as it says,
You literally don't want to behave like you, Bill and Helen. You don't want to behave like I've been behaving for the past 80 years.
right.
It doesn't work. It serves no purpose.
It's painful.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But it's not painful until you know something else. And
Well,
then,
yeah.
Or it's painful, and then,
You know,
to think that you.
Well,
to think that you,
right.
to think
Right.
that you can't have anything else is even more painful. So if there's a way, I want to.
but you can have something else. Go to the holy instant. That's one process I can
Right.
work with.
Right. But the first thing I do before I get to that is I try the drugs and the alcohol and the sex and the shopping and the whatever. And then I finally exhaust all of those. And then I finally come to a place where I really want to know another way
There's
that doesn't
another
have
way
to
of
be
looking
with
at
mine. Yep.
And, I had an experience this morning, where I Googled this philosopher
Oh, right.
and I came upon a video by some guy, I don't know who he was, and the name of it was Being and Nothingness. Well, that sounded good to me. So I put the video on and he started talking and it, I realized it didn't take long. It was probably like 20 seconds. I don't want to watch this guy. He has nothing to say. And I realized in that moment, he was my enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Absolutely.
So then it was. But let's just wait.
Mm.
But
Let's
Just wait.
Let's hear what he's got to say. And then I listened maybe for a few minutes. And it wasn't, and I stopped listening, but it wasn't a get the fuck away from me kind of thing. It was, you know what? It was a preference. I just
Right.
preferred not to listen to this and, find something else. But for me, that moment of seeing that he said, and I've had this experience before when I'm walking in the park and somebody's coming toward me, noticing the experience.
Mm.
Is it fear? I have a story. This person's going to hurt me, or this person's going to say something to me that's going to upset me.
it's all our judgment.
Yes, right. So it's becoming aware of that. To me, that's where the space shows up. Not always.
Yeah,
you know, but if I'm noticing that it's disturbing me, that's what I'm talking about with the pain. It's disturbing me. These thoughts are disturbing me. They're not affecting
No.
that person. They're affecting me. That's when a space shows up for me.
because, well, there's that lovely line near the beginning in the text where it says there's a limit to how much pain we can tolerate. And when that moment comes and we become aware of it, that's when
Yeah,
the
we got that
possibility.
in AA.
Sure. Yeah.
There's only so much pain you can
Yep.
tolerate.
But, you know, I will speak for myself. It's amazing how much pain we can tolerate before we come to that moment. Yes, yep. Yeah.
Believe,
And you can think you're at that place and you've done the, you know, total release. And then you find out later, well, I was getting closer, but I really wasn't there yet,
no,
but
I
it does
I
happen.
see even working with the force that I push it away. I
Sure.
don't want it.
Yep.
Until I came to a place where I said, this is true lunacy.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know the way, but this is lunacy.
Yeah, Kathleen.
What's your famous saying, Mary Ann?
It isn't a classroom until it hit below the belt.
Yeah. And isn't that true? You know, I've been around the course for a long time, but it wasn't until I lost my family and my parents and my
Mhm.
business and my money and my
Yep.
life. And so I get lost. Everything that there is a total surrender, like enough's enough.
Yep. And how many years did I say that comment to you? And how many years you went, yeah, right. And then it happened, and then you know.
Yes, you get it. And the other thing I wanted to say is I had a dream.
All right,
And my dream, it was the neighbor.
okay.
The neighbor you love.
Right, your dream. She was in your dream.
And I was gonna write it down when I woke up and I did. I thought I remember it. I don't remember all of it, but I remember how I felt.
Okay.
And she was like this close to me, like she was like right here, we were looking at in each other's eyes. And we were helping each other.
Wow.
And it was so profound because it was peaceful and loving and it was different.
Right.
It was different, and different for me to see. It's like the innocence that we're talking about.
Beautiful.
And I just thought it was profound that is an extension of that moment I had with
She suspended judgment.
And that's all a result for you opening the space of a possibility of a new way to be. Yeah.
I
And
wasn't impressed,
beautiful.
and I was grateful.
And I find it interesting because people think about before you went to sleep.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna think about this person. It just happens.
Yes.
Or it seems like it just happens, but you have asked for help.
Right, right,
Sounds like you're
Right.
supported.
right. But as in some of the things we've read today, how it explained, you know, the new, it's almost like the unbelievable shows up in a way that, right, that you did not have that in your head a few days ago even.
Right.
But it's beautiful when it does happen. Yep. And that's where,
Write down as much as you can of that, you know.
Yeah.
You can't forget it though. That's the
No,
interesting
and-
part.
right, and I like the idea of what the feeling was, because that's really, Yep.
I'm thinking about that space.
Yep.
That's what you can never forget it. As long as you live. I had dreams. I still remember exactly what it was about. And it was just so profound and like,
Yes.
there's no sense even talking about it.
Yep.
Overwhelms me and calms me down and
Yep.
gives me this, the quiet, the version of the peace of God. So I was thinking about this when you read that. That it's not the ego's version of peace and quiet.
mm-mm,
That's what people get worried about. It's too quiet or too, it's not the ego's version of that.
Hmm,
Because the
good
ego
point.
has an idea that peace and quiet, well, my mother would say, this is just so boring, but there isn't it. It's-
no,
it
that's a
has
good
this
point.
Edge of excitement and like, of it's something new. It's a surprise.
You've got to judge them about everything.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we need to suspend.
Yeah.
That's looking at the ego, suspended judgment.
Mhm.
That's forgiveness.
Absolutely. And as you know, we've been reading today, this whole idea of a new experience, an experience you can't You can't plan ahead. And I think, as Andrea was sharing, the thought came in my mind. And for Kathleen, it came in a dream. It doesn't matter how it comes. It can be on a billboard. It can be your hairdresser saying something that all of a sudden the pieces come together and awareness comes to you. If the door is open, the door has to be open in order for that to fall in, and then it will fall in a place that will be the least frightening for you, because there's a line that says, if the expression of the love is too fearful for you, it will not show up at that time. The healing has occurred, but you won't have the expression of in the world, but it will sneak in there sometime when you're least expecting it. And then you go, well, I didn't even ask for anything. And okay, there it is. But that was a result of the opening that you provided.
Yeah, you just been hammering your head against.
Oh,
it
yeah.
for the last 6 months. You didn't ask for anything.
Correct.
Months,
Yeah.
Right.
Right, yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
How true.
Well, really,
I know.
Where is that wall? I'm not done yet.
What is that? I'm here. I'm holding on to this merry-go-round. You better stop it somehow. please.
Yeah, well, and that's what it feels like too. Yep. All right, so I think we're on line 4 in paragraph 5.
All right. Yep.
Death cannot be escaped because it is not life in which the problem lies. So death is not the answer, because we think it's the difference between life and death and here, and it has nothing to do with here. It's beyond time and space and form. Then he goes on to say, life has no opposite, for it is of God. Within the concept of the separation, there is life and death, but that's not the life that this is talking about. The life that this is talking about is the opposite of this, but this isn't real. So it really is, stands on its own. Life and death seem to be opposites because you have decided death ends life. Well, but death doesn't end life, and life here doesn't begin life. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real.
you forgive the world, you're feeling your thoughts.
Absolutely. Like Rose said, it's because of my pain, I'm going to ask to heal it, not to make it better for somebody else in the room. It's because my pain is so rough. I'm going to read that one again. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end. What God created does not have an end. It doesn't die. So again, death, the concept of death came after the separation, not before the separation, and it is part of the illusion. And nothing he did not create is real, which reminds me of that beginning statement in the core. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Well, are we at a place where we accept that yet? And the answer is no. In this, yeah. It's true. In this one sentence is our course explained. And again, this sentence was, forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real. In this one sentence is your course explained. In this one sentence is our practice given its one direction. And in this one sentence is the Holy Spirit's whole curriculum specified exactly as it is. What's the sentence? Life has no opposite, for it is of God. Life and death, I'm doing the wrong one. Forgive the world, and you will, life and death seem to be opposites because you have decided death ends life. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real.
It's a joke to think that time could come to circumvent eternity.
Correct. Yeah. One curriculum, it's so easy. And why do we make it so hard?
You
And
heal your mind, that's when you begin to live.
Mhm.
Because we have all these sticky notes on our.
Yeah, we got, well, and we believe in the sticky notes. Yep. Yep. And be very aware that for any sticky note that we harbor, God says, number one, Nothing happened. And you are loved. You've always been loved and you will always be loved. It is us holding on to our sticky notes, then we accept those sticky notes as truth, and including the sticky notes that we harbor, that we stick about our brother. We're saying, yeah, the same sticky note, right? The opposite side of it. And the whole time he just says, you're loved, come on home. And we say, oh, no, wait, let me read this one to you. I've got a better idea. And he smiles and says, take as long as you need. And we do. All right, paragraph number 6. What is the peace of God? No more than this, the simple understanding that his will is wholly without opposite. There is no thought that contradicts his will, yet can be true. The contrast between his will and yours, but seemed to be reality. In truth, there was no conflict, for his will is yours. Now is the mighty will of God himself, his gift to you. He does not seek to keep it for himself. Why would you seek to keep your tiny, frail imaginings apart from him? The will of God is one and all there is. This is your heritage. The universe beyond the sun and stars and all the thoughts of which you can conceive belongs to you. God's peace is the condition for his will. Attain his peace and you will remember him. So what is the peace of God? No more than the simple understanding that his will is wholly without opposites, which means none of this is real. None of this is real. Nothing happened and none of it's real, correct? There is,
Made up one without consequence.
yep. There,
Prove that we accomplished the sin, guilt, and fear.
Yep.
I separated.
Yep.
It's again, the blackboard.
Yep.
Can't erasing the blackboard is so difficult for us to accept that nothing happened. This
Yep.
is not real,
nope,
you know?
it's very,
But
There-
we can see that our perceptions are lies.
yes. And that's the start, the
That's
step,
start
yeah.
of- yeah.
We can see that.
Our perceptions are lies.
Well, all our,
I know, Harvey, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, you know, to me, that's
Where we,
getting.
nothing so
this
blinding
belief
as
that nothing
perception.
happened.
forward.
That's
It's
why
blinding.
we know that nothing is happening, because the moment I can see that my perception of you is nothing more than a lie, then obviously nothing happened.
Right,
You may not see this, but Harvey has a Post-it note on him that says, "I'm out to get you."
oh, I saw it.
I got that.
We have this problem earlier today with technology that we were working on. And he comes to me with his little Post-it note that has actually an 800 number on it, and asks me, would I call, and talk to customer service so we can solve this problem. And my little wheels start turning and I say, he's asking me to do something for him that he can do for himself. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
And so he graciously took my phone and went and
No, I
Maybe.
got we found my phone.
found this.
It's funny that you get a red balloon.
It is a joke.
It is a joke, it is a joke. So, after that one got solved, I brought this up and I said, I felt this little like ripple when you came. And he said, well, I didn't know where my phone was.
Right.
Call him later so he could find his phone because he didn't know where it was. So that's how subtle and
Yes,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
I can make
Yes.
whole scenario
Yes, I love it.
Taken advantage of, or whatever, my ego was pumping out at the time, and it's always something.
You know,
And
if
it
I
just-
wanted
and it
to
takes
ask
this time.
Ron,
Information, tiny little bit.
Yep.
He wants me to do this, that's and we make it into this. What the hell? Are your arms?
Yes.
But.
But I love that it all came around and you got to see it through a different lens this time. We don't always get to see it through a different lens. And when you do, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's good.
I
Yeah,
didn't say.
Right,
I did
right.
Look at this and.
yeah, what you failed to realize, what you left a step on is.
She did.
When I accused myself
Yes.
of doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I just didn't talk about that. Leave that out. No, I didn't leave that out. Oh,
No, no.
You're inside yourself, and then you do one thing at a time, you throw the baby out with the bathwater, then you have to go out and get the baby, see, screaming, and you
Yep.
just, that's what it is, you just
Yep.
one thing after another, you know, you're not planning for this, no rest, the whole other way of thinking is that there's a plan, and you're not gonna, no, I'm never gonna do that. If you're a good girl, you better not do this. And you know, that was the whole plan, that they had to plan it all out, plan out for you. Now, like you're stepping in it all over the place and you're just asking the Holy Spirit, said, this is, you know, this is the route, this is how you go, you know, you don't like this, you don't like that. Keep asking, you'll find it sooner or later. It's just, that's the, you know, it's like this, the road of, what they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
There you go.
And the road to the Holy Spirit is paved with, you know, all the shit you can see and you get jumping over it, you know, and asking for help.
I think, Harvey, your point, and I hear you and I agree. I think, you know, when you do that enough, that you see that, you know,
Right.
I'm accusing myself. and that-
Exactly.
You don't necessarily have to go to that with every situation, because even this morning, I didn't go there with the guy on the video. I just saw that, I saw him as an enemy, and it was disturbing me.
Right.
You were disturbed.
Yeah, I was disturbed.
It always ends, Rose, it always ends up right back here.
But yeah, I
Oh.
am 100% with you. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily have to do that with every situation.
Right.
Colleen came to the same conclusion that I did this morning, and I didn't take that stuff. I do take that stuff, however. I didn't do that today with, you know, where do I do that?
Right.
I just noticed that I saw him as an enemy, and I was disturbed by that.
Right.
And that to me was what opened the opening.
And because of repeated steps of doing it, you can see that.
Yeah,
Because-
I looked at that.
Right, exactly,
you know,
exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's just not as sticky. When it's real sticky, then I want to see, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Where
but
am
it's
I?
really hanging on,
Yeah.
and then I go,
Then I'm
then
gonna
I
just
take
take
that
it
stuff.
further. Yeah.
This, I wasn't hanging on to this morning.
this is a little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
it's
I,
subtle. It's
but I
subtle.
think when those little awarenesses show up, you become more and more convinced that I don't know the whole story.
Exactly.
And that is something that will keep you moving in this direction.
thank you
And
very
they're
much.
very subtle, but they're delicious. Yeah.
I don't know what anything is for.
And that's where
Exactly.
you come to with it, because, you know, I'm listening and, you know, immediate ego response. He
Sure.
doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm listening to this, and it's only like 10 or 15 seconds into the video. and it's-
Yeah.
It's kind of like, now what does the ego want me to look at? It's bullshit.
It's like the course says, challenge everything.
Exactly.
Just challenge it. You don't have to
Exactly.
believe it or anything.
Yeah.
Just bring it right here.
And you feel
Exactly.
safe inside then you project for you see around you.
Oh, absolutely. The inside comes first, and then you'll begin to see the expression of it on the outside, which is challenging because when we start, we see the projection out there and we can't imagine I'm the one that did that, nor that do we connect the dots to what I see is what I put there. And so we have a lot of practicing to do before we can get to that point. But then the other side is when I start choosing this, the reflection of that love starts to present itself. And it's like, oh, I like a little bit of that. But then what we don't want to do is then try to manipulate the world to bring back that kind of response. You have to get yourself out of the way again and allow the answer to come. And it's
It's
just
like
slippery.
everyone else said, empty mind.
Yep.
every-
Everything.
And come with totally
Yep.
empty.
Yep.
That's all we have to do.
Can I read it?
Sure.
Can I read it?
And then we'll close.
And then we'll close. Okay. 1 second. Let us be still an instant and forget all things we ever learned, all thoughts we ever had, and every preconception that we hold of what things mean and what their purpose is. Let us remember not our own ideas of what the world is for. We do not know. Let every image held of everyone be loosened from our minds and swept away. Be
So,
innocent of judgment, unaware of any thoughts of evil or of good that ever crossed your mind of anyone.
And self.
Now, do you know him not? But you are free to learn of him and to learn of him anew. Now is he born again to you, and you are born again to him, without the past that sentenced him to die, and you with him. Now is he free to live as you are free, because an ancient learning passed away and left a place for truth to be reborn. Every moment is new.
yes, 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 yes. But it has to come from the moment.
That's chapter 31. Section 1. Chapter 31. Very end of chapter 31. It says it again, you're right, Harvey.
Yeah, it's very similar to that other one, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
That lets you know it's just being repeated.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what he does in the court, is repeat, because we know we're slow learners and we're insane. Yeah, we're insane.
Excuse me.
We're insaner than you would be playing.
Absolutely. Excuse me. All right, let's take a deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given and accept that this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. All right, guys. Remember, the now is the place.